showing you my sketchbook for Art 1. So it's just one of those sketchbooks that they have at Walmart. It's been a little bit beat up, but it has a binding kind of like a book. You can also get one of those sketchbooks that has a binding like this with spiral. That is also a good sketchbook. The reason I recommend getting either a sketchbook that has binding like a book or a sketchbook that has binding with a spiral is because if you get a sketchbook with a different kind of binding, usually the pages start to fall out and you lose stuff. And I do grade those. So get a sketchbook that is going to last you the entire semester. I also recommend that you get a large sketchbook. So they usually have a half size, which is usually a 9 by 6 or an 8.5 by 6, something like that. That is actually going to be too small if you're doing everything in your sketchbook like you're supposed to, and you will run out of space and have to buy another one. So please get a sketchbook that is 9 by 12, which is a little bit larger than a regular sheet of paper. If you can only find one that is 8.5 by 11 or 7 by 10, that is also acceptable. Those sizes are going to be big enough. Usually sketchbooks come with about 70 pages in them, so anything with like 60 to 100 pages is going to be enough for the semester. If you get one that is smaller than that, you will probably run out of pages and have to buy another one before the end of the semester. Okay, so for those of you that have a brand new sketchbook, go ahead and open it. And we're not going to be intimidated by the white space. And if you have some kind of like label or tag that came with it, you can go ahead and take that off. You don't need that on there anymore. All right, so required materials that you're going to need is a sketchbook, pencil, Sharpie, colored pencils, glue stick, and scissors, and always creativity. So some suggested materials that you do not have to have but would be helpful are things like watercolor, paper or scraps of paper, photos of your family, pets, friends, yourself, postcards or ticket stubs or a magazine or newspaper clippings, things like that. Any other materials like pens, pencils, and paint that you have that you would like to use. Washi tape is another material that's great to use in your sketchbook. All right, so let's get into what should be inside your sketchbook for Art 1. So for Art 1, we use your sketchbook for everything. So a lot of the handouts that I ask you to print out, this is where I want you to put them. When I ask you to take notes from here on out, this is where I want you to put them. When you have those sketchbook drawing prompts every week on Schoology, this is where I want you to put them. The bell work, I believe is what it's called, but the sketchbook prompts every day where you're supposed to draw something, this is where I want you to put that. So really my only hard core requirement for your sketchbook is that it has blank paper. Please don't get a notebook that has lined paper. That is going to interfere with your drawings, and also it won't teach you to work on proportion as much as drawing on blank paper. All right, so let's get into this sketchbook. So being the teacher, I don't always finish things, but on the inside of your sketchbook, this is where you're going to put the quote that we're actually going to work on next week. So we will end up decorating the inside cover of our sketchbook. And then the first page, I just want to be kind of like an all about me sort of page. I did a self-portrait. You can do a collage here. You can do words about you. You can do one of those meet the artist page. And when you take notes for art, you are allowed to draw as part of taking the notes. So all this kind of stuff is what I want to see with your note taking. That I like to see in sketchbooks is that you paste in things that you find inspiring. So I was looking through a magazine, I found this picture of this dress I really liked. I thought the photograph was beautiful, so I cut it out and glued it in my sketchbook. Let's see, this is one of the handouts that I give out in class, this right here, where we practice how to draw the face. We'll actually do that later in the semester this year. And then on the day that I did this, I had left my sketchbook at home, and so I actually did the drawings on a sheet of typing paper, and then I just trimmed it and glued it into the sketchbook. So paste things into your sketchbook. It should be a working sketchbook. It won't necessarily be a pretty sketchbook all the time. Here was practice for one of the projects that we'll do later. This is one of the bell work prompts, and I'll probably actually do this one later on this 9 weeks, but you know, doing the bell work in the sketchbook, and it's not going to be this large every day. It's not going to take up this much space. This was some questions that I asked in class for y'all to journal. So here are actually thumbnails. So for our next project, we're going to do a project called Bad Hair Day. And before I did the Bad Hair Day, I worked out my composition in my sketchbook. So I worked out, okay, if I put the person here, what if I did her hair like this and did stripes in the background? And I decided I didn't like that very much. And so I said, well, what if I put her face upside down and had the hair flowing down? And I felt like that was better, but maybe there was an even better way to do it. And then I said, well, what if I put her face over on the left side and have a ponytail where her hair is going over to the right? So that is called making thumbnails, coming up with different compositions. And if you look next to my hand, how small these drawings are, that is all I want for a thumbnail. And notice like these are not very detailed. It's just so you can get the idea of what I'm planning to do, how I'm planning to lay things out.
Or the page before it. Like that's not really a huge deal.